Are you sure you still want to call it fake news, Mr. President? For the past year, Donald Trump has repeatedly denied the existence of a profound national security threat, Russia's attempt to interfere in the 2016 election on his behalf. He dismissed the Russian subversion effort as a hoax by his opponents and the media despite voluminous evidence to the contrary, including the consensus of the American intelligence community that it did in fact happen, and is sure to happen again. Now come the indictments. On Friday, Robert Mueller, the special counsel investigating Russia's role in the 2016 election, filed criminal charges of fraud and identity theft against 13 Russian citizens and 3 Russian organizations, all alleged to have operated a sophisticated influence campaign intended to sow discord in the U.S. political system. One organization, the Internet Research Agency, which the indictment says is funded by Yevgeny Prigozhin, the go-to oligarch of Russia's president, Vladimir Putin, began its efforts as early as 2014, according to the indictment. Its staffers, known as specialists, posed as Americans and created false identities to set up social media pages and groups aimed at attracting American audiences. The broad outlines of this interference have been known publicly for a while, but the sheer scope of the deception detailed in Friday's indictments is breathtaking. By the spring of 2016, the operation had zeroed in on supporting Mr. Trump and disparaging Hillary Clinton. The Internet Research Agency alone had a staff of 80 and a monthly budget of $1.25 million. On the advice of a real, unnamed grassroots activist from Texas, it had focused its efforts on swing states like Colorado, Virginia, and Florida. Staffers bought ads with messages like "Hillary is a Satan," "Ohio wants Hillary for prison," and "Vote Republican, vote Trump, and support the Second Amendment." They created hundreds of social media accounts on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and other sites to confuse and anger people about sensitive issues like immigration, religion, and the Black Lives Matter movement, in some cases gaining hundreds of thousands of followers. They staged rallies while pretending to be American grassroots organizations. A poster at one pro-Clinton rally in July 2016 read "Support Hillary. Save American Muslims," along with a fabricated quote attributed to Mrs. Clinton, "I think Sharia law will be a powerful new direction of freedom." As the election drew nearer, they tried to suppress minority turnout and promoted false allegations of Democratic voter fraud. The specialist running one of the organization's Facebook accounts, called Secured Borders, was criticized for not publishing enough posts and was told that it is imperative to intensify criticizing Hillary Clinton. After the election, they continued to spread confusion and chaos, staging rallies both for and against Mr. Trump, in one case on the same day and in the same city. All along, they took steps to cover their tracks by stealing the identities of real Americans, opening accounts on American-based servers and lying about what their money was being used for. Last September, after Facebook turned over information about Russian ad purchases to the special counsel, a specialist named Irina Kverzina emailed a family member, "We had a slight crisis here at work. The FBI busted our activity, not a joke. So, I got preoccupied with covering tracks together with the colleagues." Ms. Kverzina continued, "I created all these pictures and posts, and the Americans believed that it was written by their people." Fake news, Indeed.mr. Trump's defenders, desperate to exculpate him, seized on a single word, unwitting that the indictment used to describe certain members, volunteers, and supporters of the Trump campaign involved in local community outreach who had interacted with the Russians. In other words, as the White House subtly put it in a statement on Friday, no collusion. The president repeated the claim himself in a tweet, grudgingly acknowledging Russia's anti-US campaign, but emphasizing that it had started long before I announced that I would run for president. The results of the election were not impacted. The Trump campaign did nothing wrong, no collusion. It's true that, as Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said in an announcement, these particular indictments do not allege that any American knew about the influence campaign, nor that the campaign had changed the outcome of the election. But that's quite different from saying that there was no collusion or impact on the election. As Mr. Rosenstein also said, the special counsel's investigation is continuing, and there are many strands the public still knows little or nothing about. Remember, Mr. Mueller has already secured 2 guilty pleas, one from Mr. Trump's former national security advisor and another from a former campaign advisor, for lying to federal authorities about their connections to Russian government officials. He has also charged Mr. Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, and his top aide, Rick Gates, with crimes including money laundering. Mr. Gates appears to be nearing a plea deal himself. Then there were Russian cyber attacks on the elections systems of at least 39 states. And the hacking of emails sent among members of the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign, which Mr. Trump openly encouraged. This is all going to happen again. Intelligence and law enforcement authorities have made that clear. The question is whether Mr. Trump will at last accept the fact of Russian interference and take aggressive measures to protect American democracy. For starters, he could impose the sanctions on Russia that Congress overwhelmingly passed, and that he signed into law, last summer. Of course, this would require him to overcome his mysterious resistance to acting against Russia and to focus on protecting his own country.